Welcome to another edition of Big 12 Picks. I'm Jarret Johnson, and we have a full slate of conference matchups this week, just like last week. So last week I went 3-2 to push my record against the spread for the season to 12-7, which, hey, I got to be honest, I'll take that. But, man, some really good matchups last week and some pretty good ones again this week. I feel like last week was by far the best round of games overall. Even Kansas was in a matchup that, at least it was, interstate rivalry, so to speak, even though, man, I got to say, I knew they'd get crushed. So let's start with Kansas again, just to get them out of the way. 11 a.m. kickoff. They're hosting Iowa State. Iowa State is 27.5 points favorite. Now, that's a lot of points. That's almost four touchdowns. But it's Kansas. Iowa State coming off the loss. They're not really a team I would call explosive, but it's hard for me to imagine that Kansas hangs close in this game at all. So I'm actually going, I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm going to take Iowa State giving 27.5 points to the Jayhawks. That's how little I think about the Jayhawks this season at this point. All right, another game. This one I like a lot more. It's another 11 a.m. kickoff, Central Time, of course. Is Kansas State at West Virginia. Now, these are two teams I would say are I'd say West Virginia is the middle of the pack team. Of course, they're coming off that loss at Texas Tech. They return home against Kansas State, who's a really, a solid squad, well coached, tough defense, run the ball kind of team. Man, West Virginia is giving 5 points to Kansas State. I got to tell you, I know they're road dogs, but I got to take Kansas State on the road getting 5 points. I could see West Virginia winning outright by a field goal, but, having seen both these teams, go against Texas Tech, for example, see them play a lot at this point, I think Kansas State is that much better of a team, and I don't think the quarterback discrepancy or disparity is that much difference, even without Skylar Thompson for the Wildcats. So I'm going to take Kansas State getting 5 points on the road there in Morgantown. All right, next game, Battle of the Texas Private Schools. TCU at Baylor. TCU is actually favored by 2.5 points. Man, neither one of these teams are very good this year. Baylor hadn't really practiced just like a whole lot, period. They got beat by an average, at best, a slumping Texas team, pretty astounding last week. But then TCU got smoked by Oklahoma, who might be coming into their own now under that redshirt freshman Spencer Rattler. So, that being said, I think this is not a good TCU squad, so I'm going to have to go with Baylor. I'm taking Baylor in this game. That's a tough pick there. For my money, this is probably the game of the week. It's Texas at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State coming off that big win over Iowa State. Texas getting back on track, having beat Baylor. So this is a tough one. Oklahoma State is giving 3.5 points, and I don't think that's enough points. I think Oklahoma State is much better, especially at home against than Texas. So I'm going to take the favorite, and this one I'm taking the Cowboys to cover against the Longhorns. Last but not least, Oklahoma playing in a night game at Texas Tech at the Jones here in Lubbock. The Red Raiders are getting 15.5 points, and what's funny is the last line I saw before this was 14.5. That Tech was getting 14.5. And I still thought that was a little too much. I think Oklahoma might win by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I could see that. Matter of fact, that's my pick. I see it being Oklahoma 42, Texas Tech 28. So, with Texas Tech getting 15.5 points, I got to go with the Red Raiders to cover. I think Oklahoma wins outright, but the Red Raiders do cover that with those points. That's a lot of points. Now, I understand Rattler's playing better. Tech's secondary has struggled at times this year. And I think it's important not to go too overboard with Tech's win over West Virginia, but at the same time, they are playing better. I do think Henry Columbia gives them a better chance to be competitive. And really, when you look at these two teams' schedules, I mean, and what they've done so far in the Big 12, both teams have lost to Kansas State and Iowa State, and then both teams have wins against kind of the middling teams, Oklahoma against TCU, Texas Tech against West Virginia, and then both teams went to overtime against UT. Now, OU won in quadruple overtime, but Texas Tech lost in the first overtime, but still, I mean, I think this game's closer than 15.5 points, which is my point. So I'm taking the Red Raiders, to play closer than that. Halloween night in the Jones. So those are my picks for this week. We'll see how it goes. I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.